The Galactic Tribunal had sent General Kale Veyron to Earth as an insult. Not as a conqueror, conquest implied the enemy deserved effort. No, the Voth Empire dispatched their most decorated war commander to Earth the same way a man might send his butler to swat a fly, technically beneath him, but occasionally necessary. General Kale Veyron stood at the edge of the demonstration field outside Geneva, his forearms folded in the overlapping pattern that Voth soldiers used to signal boredom. He was 7 feet of reinforced biology. His species had evolved on a world with 2.3 times Earth's gravity, which meant every muscle fiber in his body was dense as coiled cable. The Voth did not lift weights. They were the weights. Behind him, 47 Earth delegates stood in their little suits, clutching their little folders, sweating in their little atmosphere. "We have reviewed your application for galactic membership," Kale said, his translator collar converting his clicks and resonance tones into flawless English. "And we have one concern." Ambassador Chen stepped forward. "We're prepared to address any?" "Gravity." Kale turned slowly. His yellow eyes swept the crowd like searchlights. "Your planet's gravity is pathetically low. 9.8 meters per second squared." He let the number hang in the air like a dead thing. "Our juveniles train in higher gravity than this. How do you expect to contribute to the galactic military coalition when your soldiers would collapse under standard combat conditions?" A murmur ran through the delegates. "Our soldiers are highly adaptable," Chen began. "Your soldiers." Kale walked to the edge of the field. Sitting there, gleaming in the Swiss afternoon sun, was the demonstration piece his staff had arranged, a Voth Kraval-class assault tank. 40 tons of chromium-plated war machine, bristling with energy emitters. It had been brought as a visual aid, a symbol of what human soldiers would fight alongside if Earth was admitted to the coalition. Kale patted its hull like a man patting a horse. "This is a Kraval. Standard Infantry Support Unit. On Voth, our soldiers move these manually when anti-grav systems fail. They train for it from youth." He paused. "Could any of your soldiers lift this? Even 1 meter? Just the front end?" Silence. "No." Kale's mandibles clicked in the Voth equivalent of a smirk. "I thought not. Perhaps in a century or two, when your species has evolved past the limitations of." "I can try." The voice came from behind the crowd. Everyone turned. She was 16. That was the first thing people noticed, not because it seemed relevant, but because it seemed impossible that someone so small could have spoken with such calm certainty. Mara Ellison stood at the back of the delegate group, slightly too tall for her age, wearing a school uniform that had a visitor's badge clipped crookedly to the lapel. She had light brown hair in a messy braid, scuffed shoes, and the particular expression of someone who has done math in her head and arrived at an answer others haven't noticed yet. She was there because her mother was one of the xenolinguistics advisors. She was not supposed to speak. She had spoken anyway. "I can try," she said again, walking forward through the crowd, which parted, partly in confusion, partly in the instinctive human way of "let's see where this goes." Ambassador Chen made a strangled sound. "Mara. I won't break anything." General Kale Veyron stared down at her. The translator collar caught his low resonance hum and rendered it as, "What is this?" "A volunteer," said Mara. Kale's forearms slowly unfolded. He looked at Ambassador Chen. "You are allowing a child to represent humanity's physical capabilities?" Chen looked like a man watching a car accident in slow motion. "She's not, this isn't official." "Let her try," said one of the other delegates quietly. No one was sure who. Kale turned back to the girl. He spread his upper arms in the Voth gesture of theatrical permission. "By all means. Show me what a human child can do." Mara walked up to the tank. She ran her hands along the front skirt plate, feeling the seams, the angles, the load points. She was quiet for a moment. Then she crouched, not in the dramatic wide stance of someone trying to look powerful, but in the precise, compressed position of someone who had done this exact calculation. She exhaled once. And she lifted the front end of a 40-ton tank 6 inches off the ground. The silence that followed was the loudest thing General Kale Veyron had ever experienced. He had heard neutron cannons. He had stood on the bridge of a ship during a supernova event. He had once been present when the Voth Emperor spoke the words of final conquest to 3 million soldiers. None of it compared to this silence. Mara held the tank for 4 seconds. Then she set it down with a controlled, deliberate thud, stood up, brushed off her school skirt, and looked at General Kale Veyron with the polite patience of someone waiting for a response. "How?" Kale said. It wasn't a full sentence. His translator collar did what it could. "Biomechanics," Mara said simply. "Humans evolved in a weird environment. We're persistence hunters. We didn't evolve to be the strongest thing, we evolved to outlast everything. But the interesting part," she gestured at the tank, "is our muscle fiber distribution. We have a much higher ratio of fast twitch to slow twitch than most species at our gravity level. It's actually kind of unusual." Kale stared at her. "Also," she continued, "humans produce a hormone called epinephrine under stress that temporarily allows us to exceed our normal physical limits by significant margins. There are recorded cases of humans lifting vehicles off trapped family members. Full-sized automobiles. Alone." She paused. "I've been training in a centrifuge for 2 years, so I have a bit of an advantage, but the baseline human capacity is still." "A centrifuge," Kale repeated. "I want to be a coalition marine," Mara said, with the simple directness of someone who has wanted a thing for long enough that it no longer embarrasses them to say it. "So I started training for Voth standard gravity when I was 14. My mother thinks it's a phase." She glanced back at Ambassador Chen. Ambassador Chen looks like he's going to faint. Ambassador Chen did, in fact, look like he was going to faint. General Kale Veyron descended from the tank. He walked toward Mara slowly, the walk of a predator recalibrating, not attacking. He stopped in front of her. At 7 feet, he towered. She looked up at him without stepping back. He studied her the way he might study a weapon he didn't recognize. "You trained voluntarily," he said. "In higher gravity. For 2 years. Without being ordered to." "Yes. Because you want to fight." "Because I want to serve," she corrected, and something in her voice carried enough weight that even the translator collar conveyed it faithfully. "There's a difference." Kale was quiet for a long time. In Voth military culture, there was a concept called vrethel, roughly translatable as ferocity that requires no witness. It was considered the highest form of warrior character. You did not train for vrethel when your commander was watching. You trained for it alone, in the dark, when no one would ever know whether you stopped or kept going. This human child had been doing vrethel in a basement centrifuge for 2 years. Without orders. Without an audience. For the sheer want of it. He turned to Ambassador Chen. "I have a revised assessment of Earth's application," he said. Chen straightened, clutching his folder with both hands. "Yes? Humanity is not weak." Kale looked back at Mara one more time. "Humanity is miscalibrated. You have been operating at a fraction of your biological ceiling because your environment does not demand more." He paused. "The Voth Empire spent 4,000 years learning to exceed our environment. You have had perhaps 200 years of modern science and you are already here." His upper arms spread, not the theatrical gesture from before. "Something more genuine. The Coalition does not merely want Earth's membership. The Coalition would be foolish to refuse it." Ambassador Chen exhaled like a man who had been holding his breath for 40 minutes. Behind him, the delegate crowd broke into something between applause and disbelief. Mara Ellison stood next to a 40-ton alien tank in her school uniform, her visitor's badge still crooked, and looked entirely unsurprised. So, she said to General Kale Veyron. About that Marine program. The general looked down at her. For the first time in 20 years of command, General Kale Veyron of the Voth Empire did not have an immediate response. He laughed instead, a deep, resonant click and hum that the translator caller rendered as something between a rumble and a thunder crack. So, he said, about that Marine program. Earth was admitted to the Galactic Coalition 6 weeks later. Mara Ellison was the first human to complete Voth Standard Basic Training. She ranked third in her class. General Kale Veyron wrote the recommendation letter personally.